Welcome to One on One. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. They're all big. We've got one of my favorite people in the house, Brad Gillis. Welcome, Bradley.
Hey, Greg. How are you?
So you got a lot going on in downtown Salisbury. So I wanted to have you in to talk about all the things that are going down there and
Sure.
the risk that you have in play
Yeah,
and what the future looks like. So tell me what you guys are working on downtown.
sure. I think one of our most favorite projects that we've done recently has been some of the kind of smaller ones, if you will, and that is the continued success of the building that we're in right now, the Vision Street building.
Yes.
With Old Town Deli and having Vicente operate that and take it over from the former operators, and just seeing his success and the continued success of the brick room with all of the events that they've had, and also the expansions they've had. So we've really seen some great small wins, and that's really, I think, where the fruit of our kind of continued success for downtown is going to be.
Yeah, so to have a vision for that, like, as a patron in Old Town Deli,
Yeah.
whenever the new guy comes in, it's always a loss. Like it's not as good as the previous owners, but it's actually better now.
Yeah, he's done great, and
Yeah.
will continue to do so. I mean, having the operator that's living it and breathing it and is there on a regular basis, that's what makes downtowns great.
Yeah.
And our community great is having the operators like Alex Scott at the Brick Room and having Vicente at the Old Town Deli. Those are what makes our community.
And they both kind of reflect the culture downtown, but they also create the culture for downtown.
Yeah, I mean the cool thing is we have a great headline right now with Coons is now chosen to move out of downtown, but right on the heels of that, we've got some great backfill space that's coming, and so people are seeing the driving forces and the younger generation want these downtowns, and we're making it happen.
Yeah, let's talk about that, the Coons building, because they've been in that location since like the 1850s. They're probably Salisbury's
Before you were
oldest.
born.
Around the time I was born.
Yeah, okay.
But like one of the Salisbury's oldest business, really iconic. So when the news came that Susan was going to sell,
Yep.
and she moved temporarily to Seagull Square while there was the renovation on the plaza.
Right.
When she was going to sell, people were like, "Oh, well, this is a bad sign. This is really bad." But the truth is just the opposite.
Well, I think kudos for Susan and Coons to having the vision of realizing, hey, my business is not going to survive this temporary road closure, especially during Christmas time.
Right.
I mean, any retailer is going to have that experience where they need to have that drive-by traffic and the walkability. So kudos for her for having the vision and the ability to risk moving her business, because I know that was a very big decision for her.
Sure.
So today, I think that we've now fielded several calls and for backfilling her space. We've already seen a headline recently where Bombshell Boutique from West Ocean City, and I think Rehoboth as well,
Right.
is moving into Salisbury. And I think we have another retailer on the heels of that's going to be announcing relatively soon. So it's all these small wins that are really adding up to our success in the core of our community, and complementing Mogan's and complementing Angelo's and complementing Old Town Deli, Sushi Day Kampai, Mojo's, Roadie's, Market Street, you name it. I mean, it kind of cracks me up when I talk to some people and they're like, well, what is there to do in our community? And I can literally just turn
Right.
around in 360 degrees and name 10 things in every different direction. So it's we got a great thing going, and we should all be really proud of it.
Yeah, you mentioned Mogan's. I thought, again, one of the themes of the show is I'm wrong about everything. But it's like, is that going to work? Every time I walk by there, it's packed.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, they're great operators. They have proven success. Kudos to Denny and his team, and Brett Davis and Kurt Davis for taking the risk. They've I think have proven the fact that they're going to make this work. And it's a great experience every single time I go in there.
Yeah, and then next door, Angelo's, I was like, who's going to want ice cream downtown, at night? But the spillover from Mogan's, people leave there, go next door and have ice cream.
Yeah.
You see them sitting in there like 9:30 at night all the
Yeah,
time.
well, it was, last night was a perfect example. My oldest son goes to Pinehurst kindergarten, and they had a McDonald's night. So we went to McDonald's and had dinner. And then right after that, Kim and I got to go at Market Street.
Right.
We got 2 ahi Caesar salads.
Right.
And then, but before that, we decided to stop at Angelo's to grab some ice cream while our takeout order was being prepared. And lo and behold, we bought a candle and we bought some silly signs.
Right.
So it was kind of a perfect storm in regards to like fulfilling the vision of what a lot of people have put a lot of their heart and soul into.
Right. It looks like Doug Church is going to buy Susan's building, the Kuhn's building, and your company is going to rent it. But it's just fascinating to me that he's a guy who had a vision for downtown a long time ago and doing his business model, and it seems to be working for him.
Absolutely. Doug is a pioneer in many cases. I mean, he believed in downtown when others did not, and he's now reaping the benefit from that. We are excited to continue to partner with people like him. The cool thing about our community is that some people could see Doug and I as competitors in the real estate world, and in reality we're as collaborative as it can possibly get in regards to both him being a real estate owner and us helping him with the brokerage. So he's got a great vision, and I think it's going to pay for him and also our community in many ways.
Yeah. Also, in terms of evolution, it's funny because I was taught by your father probably 30 years ago that any of the properties that were on the north side of the plaza would never be worth as much as the ones on the south side of the plaza. So he chose to invest on that south side, the Woolworths building and those buildings.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear of activity on that north side, I go, well, those things can't succeed because they're on the north side of the plaza. Because that's what I was taught 30 years ago by your dad.
Right.
But that's not true anymore. The dynamic has completely changed.
Well, I think it's a changed narrative. And so the cool thing about our generation is that we are seeing our community centers as places to destinate. And so regardless of where we need to park, it's going to be a few hundred feet or 50 feet or whatever it may be. It's kind of indifferent to us. And so the generation prior to that was kind of a suburban night generation. And so the cool thing now is that we are indifferent to that as a generation. Of course, we all have these differentiators where some people just they choose not to park. But it's a destination, So the parking lot 1 is the 2-hour free parking lot. What you're referring to, we're excited about that more than we've ever been, and feel very confident that in the foreseeable future we're going to be able to break ground on a very substantial project, and so that is really going to kind of change how we look at our community. The city had a vision in the 60s called the Urban Renewal Plan, and that was to purchase all of those parcels that were once car dealerships, auto repair. I think there's a
tractor store.
Yeah, you name it. I mean, it was America right there. And the city purchased all of those parcels and decided that, hey, we're gonna develop these into a very densely populated mixed-use development. And it never happened. We did Vision 1 and Vision 2, but didn't go to the Step 3. And so we're poised to implement Step 3. And so it's taken that long, and a few more years is really not gonna change anything. And it's a great time. And we interest rates have been never more advantageous to build real estate. The economy is rocking and rolling right now, and also our generation wants it. We want destinations, we want mixed use, we want the urban feel, and coupled with the connectivity for Salisbury University's downtown campus and the leadership associated with that organization and investing in downtown. We're continuing to see further investment with PRMC and their acquisitions, and having really this health system being right at our doorstep in our community. And those organizations, institutions want robust activities in their core, and we're going to deliver.
You talk about Lot 1, and that's the big parking lot right in the center of town, kind of put there to really compete with the mall so that people would have a place to park. You guys have that property now, you're going to develop it. That seems like a lot of pressure. I mean, on one side, it's good because it's a blank canvas, but at the other time, this is going to be a high-profile project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And we're I think poised to deliver. Pressure has never been any greater than it is now. The cool thing is that the reality has never been any greater than it is now. Development takes too long, absolutely too long, but that's not any one person's fault. It's a process, and that process is there for a reason, because these developments are going to stand there for the test of time. The project that is, I'll call a kind of a market, it's a test, if you will, for big multifamily in downtown is the Vernon Powell project. So we are redeveloping the former Montgomery Wards building, and it's 45,000 square feet, and it's
well, let me just cut in right now.
Yeah.
This is a huge building.
Yeah.
It's an incredible mess.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ton of work. Mm-hmm. It's the kind of thing I would just walk past. I would never want to try to get in there and take that thing apart and fix it. And you guys are doing that.
Well, the obstacle is the way. We look at these as opportunities. The building structurally is no more sound than any other structure I've ever seen. I mean, it's all block and concrete and steel. So it's the proverbial, they don't build them like they used to.
Right.
And so we're going to deliver over 20 units, mainly 2 bedrooms. With a very urban feel, and that'll be kind of like the initial start to redevelop or continuing to develop our downtown and having a multi-family building in our central core. That's the future. I mean, we're going to need beds and heads, people downtown. And so we got to support that. And the cool thing is that lenders believe in it, we believe in it, the city believes in it. I feel very confident that we're going to be able to lease these 20 plus units up in 60 to 90 days.
But how cool is it, too, to own a piece of history? I mean, you probably learned a lot about Salisbury just by going in there and digging around and seeing what it's made of.
Sure. Well, not only what it was made of, but Phil Wright is a great friend of ours, and he had his collection
From Vernon Powell.
Yeah, from Vernon Powell, and his collection was very eclectic, and we're problem solvers. We figured out the impediment was really his collection of goods in that building. And he wanted.
It's a 50-year business history of what do we do with this?
Yeah.
Go put it in the warehouse.
Well, and he wanted time to figure it out.
Right.
And the beauty of it is we needed time to figure out what we were going to do. So it was a great partnership and a great marriage. And we eventually settled on the property and have invested a significant amount of capital into it and feel confident that it's going to lease. I mean, it really truly is kind of like the toehold, if you will, onto the next generation of multifamily units in Salisbury.
Now the plaza entrance is going to have some light retail, and there's another business going in there, a kid-related business.
Yeah. So that's Main Street Kids. So my understanding of that is it's an interactive space for younger kids to go into. I think the business model is going to ebb and flow initially, is to figure out what does and does not work. But I've heard I've heard some type of daycare as well. I've heard interactive experiences. I've heard different birthday party experiences. So it's going to be Main Street Kids. I mean, it's going to be essentially, from what I understand, a city under a roof, and they're going to be able to interact on a daily basis with the public and also with the younger community.
Well, it's such a beautiful building, and I never knew how beautiful it was, because you see it from the plaza and you see the backside.
Yeah.
You don't really know what's in there, but it really is truly an amazing building.
It's the retail building of its time.
Right.
So we have the original blueprints of it, and you can truly see how it was kind of like if you walked into Macy's in New York City.
Right.
It was a smaller version of that, with very, very tall ceilings in some portions of the building. Had the terrazzo floors, so I mean it was built to stand the test of time. 20
years from now, when I'm looking at Lot 1 in downtown Salisbury, what am I going to see?
So that's a passion project for us. There is a significant amount of self and community pressure on that project. Lot 1, 2-hour free parking lot right beside the library. Is a great opportunity for continual infill development. And so that is going to be the home of where our community gathers. It's town square. So that's the New Year's Eve ball drop. That's the third Fridays, a more ideal community living room, if you will. And then right beside that, we're poised to develop a mixed-use project. And that mixed-use project is going to have ground floor commercial businesses such as the Old Town Deli or the Brick Room. We want to see that bebopping around and that place of people moving and milling around. And then so they'll have that town square to enter and go in and out of on a regular basis. And then right above that, the mixed use component is market rate multifamily. So today, I believe that we are poised to develop nearly 200 units on top of that building. So we're excited about it.
So unlike the POW building, which has a structure that you have to work within, this is a blank slate, an empty canvas. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect infill opportunity. I mean, so it's a blank parking lot. So we have to go through all the typical stormwater management regulations and adhere to the highest standard that we can for environmental controls for stormwater runoff, water, sewer. So as much as we can for environmentally sound design. So yeah, it's a great opportunity.
You mentioned stormwater. It's amazing how much things have changed. In the old days, it would have been that's a great place to develop because the water will just run right down the hill into the river.
Yeah,
but
I know.
It's not simple like that anymore.
No, we're held to a much higher standard and have to treat the water, and it has to come out as good, if not better, than what it came out of the sky from. And there's one hell of a lot of quality controls that go into place underground. And so it's just part of the design, and we're ready to tackle that challenge.
Now, you mentioned infill development, which is something you've been a proponent of for years. You've had a vision for this for a long time here locally. My attitude was always like, there's a soybean field there, just plow it under and build something. That's the solution.
Yeah.
But you want to repurpose stuff within the core, and I think you've won on this thing. You're right. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you. But I mean, really the community wins. I mean, we're able to recycle, repurpose buildings. The buildings such as 600 Glen Avenue, that building as a defense contractor, it kind of really physically turned its back on Glen Avenue. And so we were able to reposition the product, reposition the building, and have it forward facing on the street, and allow for that public milling about with a first class fitness facility and pure family fitness. We have a company called Trice Evaluations, and that's moving in there for a professional office. We just signed a lease yesterday, breaking scoop, with Capital Women's Health or Capital Women's Care, their medical practice, and OBGYN that's going to go in there as well.
Oh, great.
So in addition to already having Peninsula Orthopedics in there and CubeSmart as a self-storage facility,
right.
I think it's going to be a great complement to the continual development of that corridor, and it'll mix very well with the future development of the old Salisbury Mall, which is a classic example of infill development. And we're hopeful that we're not involved in that project, but we're hopeful that it's successful.
Yeah, and people my generation ride by there and they're like, "Oh, that's a shame. That was a great, high-tech manufacturing plant.
Yep.
Now it's a gym."
Yeah.
But you can put the high-tech plant somewhere else that's more suitable. Now that's a a retail, residential area, especially the development going across the street. It doesn't make sense to have a plant there.
Yeah, and to that point, Greg, I mean, fringes change, and so if you think about in the 50s when that building was built,
right.
It was on the outskirts of town.
It was on the way out of town.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the same thing for developments like Tony Tank. I mean, Tony Tank was on the fringe of the town. It was out of town, and now it's in town as much as anything. So the proximities change, and when proximities change, there creates a pocket of opportunity for people like ourselves to repurpose buildings. And we've done one in Easton. We did one on Idlewild Drive where we took a 200,000 square foot manufacturing printing facility that had already closed down and turned it into a first-class, world-class medical facility for Shore Memorial or
right.
University of Maryland Medical System, and that's been a great success. I mean, it's like so seeing these opportunities to repurpose buildings is an advantage that we have, and we're fortunate to kind of add to that to the community.
The medical park that you all developed out there east of Salisbury, I mean, that makes sense because you're getting people from Ocean City, Berlin, coming to Salisbury. Salisbury's still a medical hub and an educational hub. There's no doubt about it. People come to Salisbury for those services.
Yeah.
And that seems to work really well. Those doctors can spread out. They've got great facilities out there. The architecture is really nice. They're just, POA and those buildings, the X-ray building. Just amazing what's been done out there.
Yeah, so Chesapeake Health has been Chesapeake Health, Peninsula Orthopedics, Peninsula Imaging, PRMC Neurosurgery is out there now. So absolutely, that is a medical hub. It's great connectivity for all of the growth that's happening in Sussex County and also Worcester County as well, and the continual population growth that we see in Wicomico. So it's a great opportunity for us to continue to grow that, and we have a couple more buildings to build there, and we'll probably be done.
And the first rule I learned about economics growing up in Ocean City is that competition is everything. Don't fear competition, embrace it, meet it, challenge it. And I see this in downtown Salisbury. There's a couple of you guys who are kind of in competition as to who can do the best job redeveloping downtown.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that just like most NBA players or college players, we get along very well off the court.
Right.
So there's one hell of a lot of mutual respect. There's camaraderie. We realize if we're all going to win, we're all going to share. And so it's not one particular project that's going to separate us from winning or losing. If any of our competitors get a project, we're just as happy for them as if we would get it. The pie is much larger than just what you see on a regular basis in downtown Salisbury, and quite honestly, we get our fair share in the downtown Salisbury market from having the opportunities to develop properties. I mean, so and the cool thing is we operate in about a 90-mile radius of Salisbury. So we're doing projects in Dover and Graysonville.
Milford, you got a lot of stuff going on in Milford.
We have a project in Milford, Delaware, and we're in Berlin, Ocean Pines. So we're a regional construction development company, and are just fortunate to have the passion, ability, and just the desire to work in our backyard, and we're right now poised to continue to do that.
See, when I see you around those other guys, the other developer guys, I try to detect some sort of competition or some sort of a negative thing.
Yeah,
and
elbow.
I don't encounter it at all because it seems like you know what you want to do and you're doing what you want to do and they're doing something else. So I don't imagine you looking at a building like One Plaza East and going, man, maybe we should have taken it over and tried to do something with that. But that wasn't what you wanted to do.
Well, I think so sure, human nature. Do we at the core kind of want to get the scoop or win?
Right.
Absolutely. But then the reality sets in, and the human nature that hey, we're already winning, having the camaraderie, if you will.
Right.
Me or any competitor being upset about losing one particular project. That's a blip on the radar, and that's going to go by. I mean, there's been several projects that have been perceived as a competitor, and I've simply made the comment, like, if you told me you were going after it, I would have stood down.
Right.
I'm not. I mean,
right.
I'd rather have your friendship than I'd rather be as a competitor. So that it's great to be in the small community, and we got a lot of great things that are happening. We've got great leadership right now, and we're going to continue to drive this thing forward.
But it's really going to be cool when it's all done.
Well, I think that's a great example of evolving. So if you look at a lot of the streets that we've built as a community, they're over-engineered. So Eastern Shore Drive, Carroll Street, they're highways. And they're
it's like a runway at the airport.
They're frankly they could be considered kind of unsafe,
right,
in many cases. And so if how do we allow both the pedestrian, the cyclist, and the vehicle to all cohabitate together on a roadway? And I think that's the vision that we as a community need to continue to strive for. And these improvements to all the community intersections are wins. I mean, they absolutely are they odd? Because they're odd because they're new. I mean, they're different.
Right.
They're not what we used to see.
If people don't like it, take the little bumps out. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. So and I've used it. I mean,
Yeah.
I live on Camden Avenue, and we'll take my both 6 and 4-year-old boys on their bikes, put their helmets on, and drive down
And
to
it
the
feels
third
safe. There's
Friday.
a buffer.
Yeah.
It's downhill. I mean, it's got everything going for it.
No, that's great. I mean, so those connectivity points are going to be the future of how we're gonna live and exist. I'm excited to see how the roundabout turns out at Mill and Riverside.
Yeah, try it. It can't be any worse than it is now.
I go through that intersection multiple times a day, and so have a moment, have a breath. Take a sip of your coffee, listen to your favorite music. It'll be okay.
I know it's important that the government not put strictures on stuff and want to promote. If you're going to invest, you need to have a partner in government. And it feels like the mayor that we have now, the city council, that they get this and they want you all to thrive.
Sure. The mayor, city council have a vision, and they're acting on that vision. And so everything starts at the top, and it's not necessarily the leader, but it's what the collective vision is for the community. And I think our current leadership has done a great job of collecting that vision and making steps toward that vision with the community's help and the community's input and suggestions and challenges along the way. And every municipality, every county, every state is going to have their issues. We go in and out of multiple municipalities on a regular basis, and they all have their flaws. There's no one particular state or one particular county or city that says, hey, we're pro-business and we're all about this, this, and this. They say that, but at the end of the day, they all have their own flaws and their own. And we work through them. That's what we do. And I think one thing I will want to reiterate is our leadership in the Board of Education and Donna Hanlon and her vision.
You're a big proponent for the public education.
Very, very big, and we're putting our next generation in the system where we believe in it. We've had a great experience at Pinehurst. We're very happy with the experience. I'm a believer. My mom's a public school teacher, and so I challenge us as a community to really double down our investment in the public school system and believe in our current leadership, and we're going to continue to rise as a community.
You've always loved Salisbury. You've always believed in Salisbury, but do you love it more and believe in it more now?
Great question. I love our community as its flaws and also some of its successes. Salisbury is a wonderful community to grow up in, to raise a family in. Hell, to even travel out of. So sometimes we, I think, take for granted what we have right at our fingertips. And so I think that our community right now is continuing to gain confidence. And so the more confidence that we have, the more successes we'll have. And when I go in and out of other communities and cities, my first question is, what makes this city tick? And for Salisbury, it's a no-brainer. I mean, we have great institutions, we have a great workforce right at our fingertips, and we just need to be very confident in the fact that we're going to continue to be successful and continue to drive our community forward.
He's Brad Gillis from Gillis Gilkerson, one of the people making our community better, investing in it, and just it's amazing what they do over there. Thanks for being here, Brad.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper, another edition of One-on-One right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.